Did you know that in the Back to the Outback movie scene, when Pretty Boy is scared because he is surrounded by Latrodectus hasselti or a venomous red-back spider, he hugged Maddie, but Pretty Boy got the name wrong. Maddie became Barry. Did you know that in the movie Back to the Outback, the most romantic scene is when Doggy and Doran, a pair of cane toads who love each other, but their love is hindered because they are locked in separate cages. Maddie frees them from confinement. They were both very grateful to Maddie for her kindness. Did you know that in the movie Back to the Outback, when Chaz Hunt was exhausted from being attacked by the Tasmanian devil, he asked for water because he was thirsty, but his son gave his father a drink of his pee? Did you know one of the skein that is not so fun experienced by Snake in the Bad Guys movie is when he's about to steal the secret code inside Chief's heavily guarded briefcase? When Snake's tail is about to retrieve the secret code, the Chief suddenly hits the suitcase closed and Snake's tail is pinched. Just imagine how painful it is. Did you know that in the Back to the Outback movie scene, you can see Maddie and her friends' disguises are perfect. Maddie, Frank, and Pretty Boy wrapped around a woman's head to look like a hat, while Nigel wrapped it around her neck so it looked like a necklace, and Zoe wrapped it like a bracelet around her wrist. Did you know that in the movie scene of Sonic the Hedgehog 2, while in Siberia, people thought Sonic and Tail were monsters, and one shouted that Sonic and Tail should be thrown into the fire. The two then lifted Sonic and Tail and was about to throw them into the fire. Sonic tried to explain but the people didn't care. Meanwhile, Tail tries to find out Siberian customs from his electronic device. At that moment Tail shouted, "Pivanka, Pivanka." The men then stopped and fell silent, giving up their intention of throwing Sonic and Tails into the fire. The scene in the Boss Baby movie, where Tim records the results of the baby meeting led by the Boss Baby. Boss Baby asks Tim to hand over the tape but Tim refuses. The tape would be the proof he showed his mom and dad that there was something odd about Boss Baby. One of the scenes in the Boss Baby movie, when Boss Baby is forced to wear a puppy costume because he is pretending to be a puppy so that he and Tim could enter a room guarded by officers. An officer catches Boss Baby, noticing him with a suspicious face. Boss Baby panicked and immediately licked the officer's face. The officer immediately put the Boss Baby down and cleaned his face. Boss Baby is also disgusted as soon as he wipes his tongue with his hand. One of the scenes in the movie Back to the Outback, where Maddie covers her fangs with her tail when she feels insecure when a mother asks Chaz to keep Maddie away from her and her child, the mother calls Maddie a monster. One of the scenes in the movie Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, when Miles pulls his hand from Wanda's shoulder and when he touched Wanda's hair, his hand stuck to Wanda's hair. Miles doesn't know what happened to him. Wanda asks Miles to get his hand out of her hair, but Miles can't get it out even though he's trying to pull it out. They become a spectacle of people. In the end, Wanda had to shave her hair so that Miles' hand could be removed. One of the scenes in the movie The Chicken Hare and the Hamster of the Darkness, when in the morning Chicken Hare is so excited, he runs to the Royal Library to find out the location of the Hamster of Darkness. Abe exhausted following Chicken Hare. Abe stopped for a while and bought fruit for breakfast, but Abe hadn't had time to eat fruit when Chicken Hare pulled him toward the library. One of the scenes in the movie Back to the Outback, when Pretty Boy is surrounded by people who think he is a rabid koala. Pretty Boy tells the people that he won't bite by showing his teeth that are still Invisalign. Pretty Boy grins showing his teeth, but people look at him like a rabid koala having a seizure. One of the scenes in the Boss Baby movie, when Boss Baby asks Tim to hand over the tape, and if Tim refuses then Lam Lam will suffer the consequences, Boss Baby puts a ring on Lam Lam's nose with staples. Then Boss Baby gave a ring on Lam Lam's eyebrows with staples. Tim asked Boss Baby to stop it. Tim pulled Lam Lam from Boss Baby's hand. Boss Baby also pulled Lam Lam. Until finally Lam Lam's head broke. One of the scenes in the Spider-Man movie, Into the Spider-Verse, when Miles Morales got an assignment from Peter Parker. Miles received the only cancel key that can stop the collider. Peter Parker tells Miles to swing up, use the key, and push the button and blow up the collider. Peter Parker asked Miles to cover his face, and not to tell anyone about his true identity. If the collider engine is turned on, then all will be destroyed. Family, everyone will perish. Miles promised to do the task from Peter Parker. One of the scenes in the movie Back to the Outback. When Pretty Boy had to give up being in the middle of Doggy and Doran. Dougie and Doran eat the fly that lands on the Pretty Boy's face. Pretty Boy surrendered even though he was really disgusted being licked by the pair of frogs. Did you know that in the Bad Guys movie, Professor Marmalade is annoyed by a piranha pointing a light in the shape of a heart? Piranha says it's butt. Piranha insisted that it was a butt. Then whose butt is that? Did you know that in the movie Sea Beast, when Jacob tried to kill a sea monster, the sea monster made the sea tide and Jacob hugged the tree so as not to be dragged into the sea? Jacob coughed. The funny thing is that on his head stuck a starfish. One of the scenes in the Spider-Man movie, Into the Spider-Verse, when Miles tries to jump from a tall building for the first time. His attempt failed when he ran and tripped over his loose shoelace. Miles falls on a car, and the collider cancel key given by Peter Parker breaks. One of the scenes in the Sea Beast movie, a scene that shows how the Captain Crow jumps and sticks his big harpoon on the green sea monster. The sea monster fell in the hands of Captain Crow. His large body made Captain Crow look very small. Imagine if a sea monster like in the movie The Sea Beast really exists and attacks humans, terrifying. One of the scenes in the movie The Hamster of the Darkness, where this scene tells how a strange expression, as well as Uncle Lapin when he found out that Luther, a very cruel gorilla who once killed a person just for snoring when he was met, was holding a baby. Did all the criminals become soft when Lapin was in prison? One of the scenes in the Bad Guys movie, when Shark pretends like a pregnant woman about to give birth to a baby. The atmosphere became excited when Shark shouted to see if there was a doctor from the many guests present. Shark also asked some guards to come help him. The guards immediately ran to Shark, who was in an emergency. One of the scenes in the Spider-Man movie, Into the Spider-Verse. When Peter Parker, who comes from a different dimension, meets Miles in a restaurant. Peter Parker ate with gusto because in the dimension where he came from, the restaurant was closed since 6 years ago. Peter Parker also asked Miles to pay his food bill because he was broke. Carter Murphy, a boy who managed to steal the attention of May May. May May continued to stare at him with sparkling eyes. It seems Carter Murphy is the type of guy that May May likes. One of the scenes in the Boss Baby movie, when Boss Baby meets Tim in his room. Boss Baby struggled to get on the bed to sit next to Tim, his short legs difficult to climb the bed. Tim just looked at Boss Baby with no intention of helping. One of the scenes in the Spider-Man movie, Into the Spider-Verse. When three Spider-Men meet, after removing her mask, the Spider-Man in black and white costume is Miles' classmate Gwanda or Wanda. It was the first time Gwanda introduced herself that her name was actually Gwen. Gwen is a Spider-Man from another dimension. That's cool, right? One of the scenes in the movie Back to the Outback, when Chaz Hunt throws Pretty Boy like a useless object. In the past, Pretty Boy was the most famous koala in the world. Have 100 million fans. But now he's dead, and the position of Pretty Boy has been replaced by another animal. One of the funny scenes in the movie Turning Red, when May May's mother hides behind a tree at May May's school just to watch her child who is studying in class. And the action of May May's mother kicking the leg of a schoolguard is quite ridiculous. The schoolguard holds his leg in pain. The perfect depiction of the figure of a mother who is very protective in raising children. One of the scenes in the Marmaduke movie, when a big dog named Marmaduke is locked up in the attic and is not allowed to join Billy's birthday party. Hit the window only to catch a bee, the window glass shattered, and Marmaduke fell into the children's pool in the yard. The impossible thing in this scene is the splash of pool water when Marmaduke falls spreads to one block of the house and causes the house to flood. It was impossible, the water from the small swimming pool spread like a tsunami. One of the scenes in the Boss Baby movie, when Tim is punished by his father and mother for 3 weeks. In his imagination that he is being locked up in his room like he is in prison, wearing prison clothes, imprisoned for life. Tim's absurd imagination is that his toy in the form of an old geezer named Wizzy is also imprisoned, wearing prison clothes and chained. One of the scenes in the movie Back to the Outback. When Chaz Hunt is attacked by 3 Tasmanian devils, when Chaz climbs on a rope, one of the Tasmanian devils bit Chaz's pants to shreds and holes. Chaz didn't notice, until his son told him his father had to wear pants. Did you know that in the movie The Sea Beast, as soon as Captain Crow cut the monster's horn and he swam back to the surface, suddenly the big monster that he had defeated grabbed Captain Crow's leg and dragged him to the bottom of the sea. Captain Crow continues to be pulled to the bottom of the sea. Unable to break free, without weapons to fight, and no crew of the ship inevitable saw it. Everything then went dark until finally Captain Crow woke up and he was on the ship, surrounded by the whole crew who were worried about him. There isn't any scene that shows who actually saved Captain Crow when he was dragged by a monster to the bottom of the sea. It's a mystery. Who saved Captain Crow? Did you know that in the Turning Red movie, May May doesn't like Devin? She even says that Devin is not very handsome and like a tramp. Even though there had been an embarrassing incident at Daisy Mart, when May May turned into a panda and passed in front of the Daisy Mart store, she still took the time to tease Devin. One of the funny scenes in the movie Paws of Furry, The Legend of Hank. When Jimbo and Hank free Sumo from prison. Hank and Jimbo stopped for a moment to check the situation but were instead hit by the sumo's big body, so Jimbo and Hank bounced off the wall. One of the unique things in the Paws of Furry movie scene, The Legend of Hank. That is when the scene of a shogun called Pikachu. It turned out that the voice message was conveyed to Pikachu from one cat to another, which lined up long across mountains, rivers, valleys, to the city where Pikachu was building a palace. One of the scenes in the movie The Turning Red, when May May first turned into a red panda while at school, in class. Everyone who was there, no one saw that there was a big red panda in their midst. Only May May's mother saw. Even the school guard who should have seen May May turn into a red panda just looked around in confusion. The differences between Luca and his parents when they first surfaced. Luca first came to the surface having trouble walking. He even had to be taught by Alberto to stand up, balance the body, then step by step and walk normally on land like a human. While Luca's parents came to the surface instantly able to walk normally and even run like humans without the need for someone to teach them. Maybe because Luca is just a kid who have not had experience. One of the scenes in Luca's movie, when Alberto tells Luca to greet 2 madams who are enjoying gelato. Somewhat hesitantly Luca said, "Madam, what's wrong with you, stupido?" The 2 madams got angry and hit Luca and Alberto with bags and umbrellas. Then how come in the next scene the gelato sticks to Luca and Alberto's heads? Maybe the 2 madams lost their appetite for gelato after Luca called them stupido. So they put the gelato on Luca and Alberto's heads. Did you know that in the Paws of Furry movie, The Legend of Hank? When Hank was released from prison and was about to be executed, he was the only prisoner at the execution site at that time. But even though Hank was alone and only accompanied by a few executioners, Hank was given a kind of cue number, namely number 1. The executor kept calling, "Number 1, number 1. If there is only one person, then why give the cue number?" One of the scene in the Sea Beast movie, where Maisie mocks Jacob, and calls him, "Captain Someday," Maisie sticks her tongue out at Jacob. Jacob looked at the little girl not knowing what to say. The captain candidate who will be the successor of the inevitable ship in the future is teased by a little girl. Have you noticed any of the satire in the Boss Baby movie? When Tim and Boss Baby pretend to love each other, Tim reads a storybook, Hansel and Gretel, to Boss Baby. Tim reads the story, pushing the evil old woman into the oven. And the witch burned to death. Boss Baby makes it clear that the story is about burning people alive? And it is a storybook for children? Boss Baby says, it's appropriate for children's minds to be in trouble. Boss Baby criticism is a fact of life today. One of the scenes in the movie Back to the Outback, when Pee-Pee was amazed to see a family of koalas on a tree. Pee-Pee calls them, pretty people, without saying goodbye to Maddie. Pee-Pee immediately joined the koala family, but the most disgraceful thing that Pee-Pee did was get rid of the other koalas. But it didn't last long, because next PP was kicked out of the tree. Did you know that in the Sea Beast movie, there is not a single scene that tells what the gender of the red monster called the Red Bluster is? The only statement that the Red Bluster was female came from Maisie's conjecture. That Red Bluster is she, not he. But that's just a guess that came from a little girl's words. One of the scenes in the Bob's Burger movie, which is when Jean, Louisa, and Tina hide in the window when Felix comes. Felix even opens the window to get some fresh air. Then how could he not see there were 3 children hiding there? Then in another scene when Jean accidentally makes the balcony move, the 3 of them are on the balcony that keeps moving. Clearly seen from the window, it was clear that the balcony contained children right beside Felix, but in fact Felix didn't see it. There's no way Felix didn't see that. Did you know that in Luca's movie? There is only one scene where Massimo shows his eyes, that is when he found Alberto constantly staring at his arm. Massimo joked to Alberto that his arm was like that from being eaten by a monster, even though Massimo was born with such an arm. In all scenes Massimo's eyes are not visible because they are covered by his thick eyebrows. One of the scenes in the Minions movie, The Rise of Gru, sees how the Minions are finally given a place by Gru. That is when they look pathetic, raining and cold. Gru couldn't bear to see them and took all the Minions into his room. Turns out it was just a trick. Gru wants to be a supervillain but is still gullible. One of the scenes in the movie Raya and the Last Dragon, when Raya made a big mistake, that is to invite Namaari into a secret place where Sisu's jewels are kept. In this scene also, if you notice, Asian culture takes off shoes when entering a holy place, or when entering a house is also shown in detail. Because this movie was made with a research process in 6 Southeast Asian countries. Did you know that in the movie The Turning Red? When an incident occurred at Daisy Mart, one of the teenage girls who visited Daisy Mart was seen wearing a hijab. This is because it reinforces the background of the city in this movie, Toronto, Canada. Toronto has the largest Muslim and multi-ethnic community. Did you know that in the Minions movie, The Rise of Gru? When Gru wants to rule the cinema and watch movies without being distracted by people, he deliberately threw a poisonous gas into the cinema, causing people to panic and get out of the cinema. After that, Gru and Minions are free to watch movies without being disturbed by people. If you notice that only Gru wears a special poison gas mask, Minions don't use masks, because Minions don't have noses. Did you know that in the movie Raya and the Last Dragon, in some scenes the frangipani flower is always shown, again about Asian culture? In Indonesia, the frangipani flower is always planted in cemeteries, always associated with people who have died. Frangipani flower also serves to make funerals always fragrant. Asia, especially in Indonesia, this flower is also associated with mystical things. Did you notice that in Luca's movie scene? When Alberto came with an umbrella for Luca, it was raining at that time, while Luca still has to bike downhill to win the Poderoso Cup. Everyone uses black umbrellas, only Alberto uses blue umbrellas. The umbrella was the same color as its body when it turned into a sea monster when it was hit by rain. One of the scenes in the Baymax series, when Baymax accidentally sprays water on Kiko. Actually Baymax was trying to cure back pain in Kiko but only caused the middle-aged woman to be thrown by water spray. But calm down, Baymax has given her a lollipop. One of the scenes in The Rise of Gru. Vicious 6, the villain who wasn't bad enough. They betrayed Wild Knuckles and wanted to kill him after Wild Knuckles got the Zodiac Stone. It's hard to believe how they wanted to kill Wild Knuckles, while they were dropping Knuckles on the water. Did you know that in the movie Checkered Ninja 2? From the beginning Sean had suspected that Alex was talking to his ninja doll, but Alex continues to cover. Only 3 times Alex was able to hide about the ninja doll from Sean. The 4th time Sean recorded Alex and the ninja doll discussing something in the room. Alex cannot escape and must take Sean along on their adventure. Did you notice the line spoken by Bob in the movie The Rise of Gru? Although the Minions' language cannot be understood in its entirety, but in a scene when Bob wants to sleep with Gru, Bob says, "Nasi goreng kecap manis." It is Indonesian, which means fried rice with soy sauce.
Nasi goreng kecap manis.
Okay.
Did you notice that in the movie The Turning Red, when Mei Mei asked Abby to hit her arm as a test of whether she would turn into a red panda or not, Abby didn't hit Mei Mei's arm, she just hit Mei Mei's face. This is because the face is the part that is always the center of attention. So the face becomes the main target. One of the funniest scenes in the movie The Rise of Gru, when Bob becomes a flight attendant, a baby cries loudly when he sees Bob. Even though Bob has tried various ways to comfort the baby doesn't stop crying. None of the passengers were disturbed by the baby's crying and Bob's actions. Even the baby's mother just sat down without calming her crying baby. One of the scenes in the Baymax series, when Baymax was at the grocery shop, some people suggested a good brand of sanitary napkins for Baymax. Comfortable pads, wing pads, there are environmentally friendly pads. Until Baymax decides to buy all those pads, and takes them to the toilet. Then how does a robot Baymax pay for all those sanitary napkins if he doesn't work and has no money? One of the scenes in the movie Hotel Transylvania, Transformania, when Drac fires the monsterification ray at Johnny with the intention of having Johnny transform back into a human, but monsterification ray was only exposed on the Monster Waiter Hotel. The Monster Waiter Hotel was happy when it turned into a human, young and handsome. But only about 7 seconds turned into a human he again became a monster. Did you notice that in the movie Hotel Transylvania, Transformania, when Drac turned into a human and fell from upstairs to the pool below? When Drac fell, the splash of water was not so strong, but when Johnny fell into the pool, the splash of water was so strong that the pool became dry. And there's no Drac in the pool but only Johnny. Where's Drac? Even though it was clear that Drac fell in the pool. If you look closely, it turns out that Drac was thrown with a strong splash of water until he got caught and hung on the roof of the hotel. Did you notice that in the Bob's Burgers movie? When an underground plumbing pipe leaks and makes a big hole right in front of the Bob's Burger restaurant. Restaurant owner Jimmy Pesto's Pizzeria was shocked, and when he found out that the incident took place in front of the Belcher family's burger restaurant, he smiled instead. A smile from the restaurant competition. That's not good behavior. Don't be imitated. Did you know that in the Paws of Furry movie, The Legend of Hank? There is one scene when Hank wants to run away from the executioner. He is chased by the guard cats. One of the cats chasing Hank was seen jumping into a cardboard box that Hank had deliberately dropped to keep them out. It aims to include the character of a cat, who really likes to fit into boxes or cardboard. Have you noticed the behavior of the owner of Jimmy Pesto's Pizzeria restaurant? He not only cleaned the front of the restaurant, he also sprayed water on passers-by. When you first watch the movie, Luck, you can see Sam Greenfield, who became the main character in this movie. Her beauty looks very similar to Rapunzel. Only the hair color is different. One of the scenes in the Paws of Furry movie, The Legend of Hank, when Hank is asked to sign a contract between teacher and student. Hank pens don't emit ink. As he shook it, the ink from the pen splattered out. How can the pen ink be sprayed in the opposite direction and down? It just squirts into Jimbo's face. Did you notice that Bob spoke Indonesian sentences again, when he was allowed to sleep on the Gru bed? Bob said, "Terima kasih," which means thank you.
Terima kasih.
Did you notice that in the Kung Fu Panda series The Dragon Knight? When Po comes home with a sad face, he asks for a bowl of noodles. If you notice, when his father took the noodles, only one spoon with the size of a small spoon, but instantly the large noodle bowl was immediately filled with noodles. Did you know that in the Turning Red movie, why is Mei Mei's mother Red Panda so much bigger than the other red pandas in her family? That's because Mei Mei's mother believes that the bigger the anger and emotional outburst, the bigger the red panda and the more difficult it will be to control. Mei Mei's mother also believes that there is darkness in the red panda. One of the scenes in the series I'm Groot, while Groot was eating, the pot broke, and Groot was immediately removed and replaced with another ornamental plant that was more beautiful and well cared for, with lush leaves. Groot is angry. He was dumped and cold. One of the scenes in the Baymax series, if usually Baymax will be there to provide medical assistance when he hears someone say, "Ow." This time it was different, there was no, "Ow," from a cat. Suddenly Baymax came to give medical help. The difference between Amiko and Hank in The Paws of Furry, The Legend of Hank. Amiko when about to be stepped on by Sumo, Amiko immediately dodged. But when Hank was occupied by Sumo, he just sat quietly without a fight. That's why Jimbo said that Hank was so stupid. The difference between Joni and Gigi when they both turned into monsters. Joni, when Mavis shoots Ray's monsterification at him, he doesn't immediately turn back to normal, but Gigi when Drac fires Ray's monsterification, Gigi instantly changes to normal. Even though both of them have mutated into wild monsters. Did you know that in the movie The Sea Beast, when Jacob promised not to hunt sea monsters anymore, he promised in front of the red bluster by raising his spear, and would break it. The first failed, the second also failed, and the third time still the spear didn't break. But at the end of the movie, Jacob manages to break the spear easily in front of the red bluster. Why is that? It was because the spear that Jacob was using was a spear taken from a statue. Of course it wasn't as strong as the one used for hunting. One of the most emotional scenes in a Lightyear movie, when Buzz discovers that Alicia Hawthorne's office is empty and finds a farewell message from his best friend. Buzz wiped his tears when he saw the portrait of himself and Alicia in astronaut outfits. Did you know that Pooh 3 times tried to impress Luthra and was willing to cooperate? Pooh even showed Luthra how to cross the lava river safely. Luthra wasn't impressed with Pooh, he just asked, "How did Pooh do it?" The 4th time Luthra saw how Pooh was able to survive when attacked by lizards so that he did not fall into the lava river and defeated all the lizards that stole Luthra's sword. One of the scenes in the movie Lightyear shows Sox's behavior as a cute personal companion robot cat. When Sox was in a pinch and blocked Buzz's view, Sox apologized and changed his position, but it didn't help. Sox again shifted around on Buzz's neck with his tail covering Buzz's nose. One of the funniest scenes in the Bob's Burgers movie, when children harass Sergeant Bosco who is undercover and stalking a motorcycle gang suspected of robbery. Tina tells Sergeant Bosco that the siren is still on the car. Sergeant Bosco was shocked, and sure no one saw that he was a cop. A motorcycle gang named Critter knows Louisa. Critter knows that Bosco is a cop. Bosco was furious. Jean says that Sergeant Bosco's badge is on the dashboard. Hopefully no one will see. Yes, Tina also saw that on the coffee glass it was also written, Sergeant Bosco. Did you notice that in the movie Minions, The Rise of Gru? There is a difference in the color of the door of Gru's house. In all the scenes in the movie it shows that the color of the door of his house is pink, but there is one scene at the beginning of the movie, when Gru enters the house, it is clearly seen that the door of his house is white. Did you know that throughout the movie The Sea Beast, we can only see a piece of tattoo that is on the chest of Captain Crow, but in one scene when the captain meets Gwen Batterby, the witch is able to make Captain Crow's tattoo move until it becomes clear that Captain Crow's tattoo is a dragon. Not so important, this is just a scene in the Kung Fu Panda series, The Dragon Knight. When Pooh prepares everything to go out chasing criminals, see how Pooh just puts Backpow into his bag without the lunchbox. Did you notice the mistake in the Bob's Burgers movie? When Linda and Bob Belcher were going to the bank, it was not seen that Linda was carrying a bag. Only Bob was seen carrying a burger bag to give to the bank clerk. But when Linda was at the bank and about to go home, Linda was carrying a sling bag. One of the scenes in the movie Minions, The Rise of Gru. which shows the skills of the three minions in terms of disguise. Of the three minions, namely Kevin, Bob and Stuart, Stuart is the most adept at disguise. In this scene you can see Stuart almost resembles a wall, and in the second, Stuart throws himself in a pile of things that are the same color as his body. Did you know that the ducks in the bathroom of Gru in the movie The Rise of Gru is the exact duck with the ducks at the Bob's Burgers movie? The difference is, in The Rise of Gru there is only one duck, while in the Bob's Burgers movie there are many ducks and they are used to play lucky ducks. Did you know that there is only one scene in the movie The Rise of Gru that shows how cute Otto is? In the scene where Gru praises Otto for rediscovering the Zodiac Stone, Gru says that he is very proud of Otto. Hearing that compliment, Otto's expression was adorable. Did you notice in the Luck movie scene, when Bob arrived at Good Luck and was followed by Sam, all objects that entered the portal when they arrived at the arrival and departure gates were sucked in by a vacuum? The suction power of the vacuum was of course large because of Sam's large body. Was sucked in. But strangely, Bob's small body, which is only a cat, doesn't budge when the vacuum is on. In my opinion, the vacuum just sucks in everything that comes from outside the world of Good Luck. One of the scenes in Lightyear movie that made the movie banned in some countries, the scene showing Alicia and his female partner. At first I thought it was a man. The man who was one of the crew in preparing Buzz's mission in the spaceflight test. But it turned out that it was different person, only their haircuts looked the same. Superman as a baby was only accompanied by Krypto, his loyal dog. Superman has to leave his planet, and suddenly Superman is an adult. Who actually raised Superman? Until he grows up to be a handsome successful man, and lives in a luxury apartment. In some scenes in the movie The Rise of Gru you can guess the character of Stuart. Stuart is the only minion with a cool personality. In some of these scenes it is clear how cool Stuart looks from Bob and Kevin. When picking up Gru at school, when opening Vicious Six's invitation, when gathering with other minions, while at the cinema, and several other scenes also show that Stuart is the coolest minion out of the other minions. One of the scenes in the DC League of Super Pets movie that shows Krypto, a super dog, who turns out to be super but has short-sighted eyes. Krypto takes out his glasses to observe the other dog next to him. The question is, where did Krypto get those glasses if he doesn't even have a pocket, or a bag to store the glasses? Did you notice the lipstick taser Lucy first used to electrocute Gru in the movie Despicable Me 2? The lipstick looked different from the taser lipstick she used when she electrocuted Kevin and Stuart in the car. The lipstick taser when electrocuting Gru is still in the form of a whole lipstick. But when the lipstick is used to shock Kevin and Stuart, the lipstick only looks at the handle. Did you know that Antonio Perez in Despicable Me 2 is very similar to Carter Murphy in the Turning Red? Their hairstyle is the same. The colors of the clothes they wear are almost the same, and the girl who falls in love with them also wears glasses. Margot in Despicable Me 2 wears glasses. And May May at Turning Red also wears glasses. Did you notice that in Despicable Me 3, there are Marlin and Nemo there? When Gru and Lucy drive underwater to a ship to catch the quirky criminal named Balthazar. The two clownfish that were hit by the minions look like Marlin and Nemo in the movie Finding Nemo. In that scene it's like showing how Illumination wants to knock out competitors. One of the scene where Agnes in the movie Despicable Me and Otto in the movie The Rise of Gru do the same thing. They both hold their breath in front of Gru, until their faces are red and limp. Who is the cutest, Otto or Agnes? One of the scenes in the movie Pinocchio, when a shabby Jiminy Cricket is transformed by a blue fairy into a Jiminy Cricket with a dapper look. If you notice, the color elements of Jiminy's clothes are the same as Pinocchio's clothes. This is of course because the blue fairy assigned Jiminy to temporarily become the most important part of Pinocchio's life. Did you know that the color elements included in the DC League of Super Pets movie are made very detailed, such as Lulu, a guinea pig as the antagonist in this movie is always surrounded by purple. Her eyeballs are purple. A device she designed is also purple. Not only that, two other antagonists also use purple. Lex Luthor uses purple cuffs, and his female partner with purple hair. One of the scenes in the Lightyear movie that shows Buzz's confusion when he gets a sandwich he's never seen before. Why is the bacon on the outside instead of the bread? Why are there too many cucumber slices? One of the scenes in the movie Minions, at that time the Minions were tied up by a female villain named Scarlet. Their mouths were covered with duct tape and their hands were tied. You all know that Minions don't have noses, so they breathe through their mouths. But in this scene Bob and Stuart can survive. They do not limp even though their only breathing path is the mouth covered with duct tape. In fact, when Otto in The Rise of Gru held his breath by covering his mouth, his face turned red and weak. One of the most awkward scenes between Buzz and Izzy in a Lightyear movie, when Buzz sticks his index finger at Izzy saying to infinity, and hopes Izzy will reply by saying and beyond. But Izzy just stares strangely at Buzz, making Buzz awkward. One of the most annoying scenes in the Bob's Burgers movie, when Grover imprisoned Bob's family and also his two cousins, Calvin and Felix Fischoeder. Even though Grover Fischoeder was holding a gun, but it wasn't a firearm and Grover was just alone, while he held 3 adult men, 1 adult woman, and 3 children. Bob's family, Calvin and Felix, certainly had the opportunity to fight and gang up on Grover and take him to the police, but in fact these 7 people just stood there without a fight. One of the scenes in the Minions movie that shows how the trio of Stuart, Kevin and Bob disguised themselves as adult women very well. But this scene is too vulgar. When the Minions show big breasts, this scene should not be suitable to be a spectacle for children. Did you notice Bob in this scene in the movie The Rise of Gru? When he shows his ice cream to people at the gym, Bob's ice cream fell and he took back the ice cream that had fallen and he ate that. 2 scenes in 2 different movie, but almost the same. In the Despicable Me movie, when Vector was annoyed because Agnes kept saying that he was wearing pajamas. Vector says, "They are not pajamas." Vector's annoyance at Agnes is very similar to Professor Marmalade's annoyance at Piranha in the Bad Guys movie. Marmalade screams in annoyance saying, "It's not a butt," when Mr. Piranha says that the heart-shaped lamp that looks like a meteorite is a giant butt.
Like sleeping?
They are not pajamas! A butt? It's not a butt!
One of the most disgusting scenes in the movie Pinocchio, when Pinocchio is curious about horse poop, he stops and observes the horse poop and smells the stench of the poop. Fortunately, Pinocchio, who is curious, does not touch the poop and chooses to go to school to find out all the things he encountered, but he did not know. You should see this, Minions Stuart and Dave. This is a commercial from Illumination. You can see Dave smelling Stuart's fart, and Dave's reflex is to cover the part above his mouth. Even though it's very clear that the Minions don't seem to have noses. Or maybe, it's my opinion that the Minions' noses are just tiny invisible pores above their mouths. What do you think? Did you notice Gru's house in the movie Despicable Me? Of all the houses there, only Gru's house is painted black. The other houses are painted white. This is of course because Gru likes black. Not only his house, all the sweater colors in Gru's closet are black. One of the scenes in the Car on the Road series, when Mater and Lightning stay at a haunted motel. Mater is a cowardly type, but instead he slept peacefully in the haunted motel. Look at how Mater is sleeping soundly, and it makes him look even more like a useless junk tow truck. One of the worst scenes in the Lightyear movie, when Socks, a cat belonging to Zurg, actually sided with Buzz. When Buzz asked the autopilot to self-destruct in 2 minutes, Socks asked Buzz why he didn't want advanced technology from Zurg's ship. Socks had not finished talking to Buzz. Suddenly Zurg came and stepped on Socks angrily because it was considered a betrayal. Socks was destroyed. Socks is a Zurg cat who has been his friend for centuries and has helped him so much that he simply exterminates it without mercy. Did you notice that in the Boss Baby movie? When Boss Baby pretends to be a puppy and when Boss Baby is about to enter the dog door, suddenly a guard catches Boss Baby and the guard looks suspicious and watches Boss Baby carefully. Boss Baby, who was afraid that his disguise would be exposed, was forced to lick the guard's face. If you notice, Boss Baby licks the guard's face, but the guard does not wipe his face, which is hit by Boss Baby's spit. The guard wipes his tongue instead. This scene is not connected, the face that is licked but the tongue that he is trying to clean. Secret weapon in the form of lipstick in a different movie. Lipstick that turns out to be a blowtorch in the Bad Guys movie. Diane Foxington's lipstick and used by Wolf to cut chains, and Lucy Wilde's lipstick taser in Despicable Me 2, which Gru uses to electrocute El Macho. Which lipstick do you like? Did you know that the scene in the Bad Guys movie, when the bad guys are in the prisoner's car discussing their next plan, is the only scene that clearly shows a shark tattoo from the side? Only in this scene is it clear that the shark's large arm has a tattoo. One of the scariest scenes in the Pinocchio movie, when Pinocchio's friend named Lampwick suddenly his ears turned into donkey ears. Lampwick didn't realize it until a donkey tail also suddenly appeared on his body. Lampy's head had also turned into a donkey head. Lampy realized that something was wrong when his voice turned like a donkey. Lampy was surprised to see himself in the mirror. Lampy hysterically screamed for help when his body actually turned into a donkey. All the children became donkeys and were caught. One of the scenes in the movie Luck shows Bob sniffing food, and eating pieces of a sandwich given by Sam. And did you know that this is the only scene where Bob eats like a normal cat? One of the scenes in animated short collections, Illumination's Minions and More. When the Minions want to have a pet, the Minions think that ladybugs are puppies. One of the scenes in the movie Despicable Me that shows how a villain like Gru can also faint just for seeing his home decor change. Gru is surprised that his home decor is kid-friendly. One of the best scenes in the Luck movie, the scene that shows the best shot of Bob. Only one jump in a moment Bob managed to put a crystal into the basket. Sam, who has a tall body, actually did not manage to take the crystal. One of the funniest scenes in animated short collections, Illumination's Minions and More. Where the Minions' pet aliens draw lots of butts in the sky, is funny, but it's a joke for adults. Did you know that Bob is the Minions with the cutest character of all the Minions that exist? Here are the scenes that show that how cute Bob is. Even with supervillains like Scarlet, Bob is also very caring. One of the scenes in the Kung Fu Panda series, The Dragon Knight, when Fo is shocked when his father informs him that the Emperor has stripped Fo of his Dragon Master title. Although shocked by the information, Fo was even more shocked when he received information that the dumpling shop returned the Dragon Master promo toy. So actually, for Fo the Dragon Master toy is more important than the Dragon Master title. Did you know that in the animated short collections, Illumination's Minions and More is the only scene that shows Gru and Kyle hanging out together? Kyle, Gru's pet dog, spends most of his time at home. Maybe it's because Minion also goes for a walk with his pet puppy, so that makes Gru also take Kyle for a walk. Did you know that the character of Jacob Holland in the movie The Sea Beast looks similar to the character of John Smith in the movie Pocahontas? It's just that Jacob looks more muscular, because Jacob is a monster hunter, while John Smith is one of the Virginia Company crew who roams North America with British settlers. One of the scenes in the Bad Guys movie, which shows how strong the police chief Misty Luggins is. Not only did she lift Wolf's body very easily, but she is also able to pull the rope with just one hand where the wolf, snake, piranha, tarantula and shark's big body are hanging on the rope. Did you know that Grinch knows each other with the Minions? Minions are toys in a young Grinch's crystal ball. The scene in animated short collections Illumination's Minions and More one shows the face of a young Grinch who is still innocent, and looks friendly. Not like the annoying Grinch who hates Christmas. Two boys who seem to love Margot. Nico, the boy in Despicable Me 3, even comes with his pig to meet Lucy and says he wants to be engaged to Margot. But Lucy didn't agree. Then there's Antonio Perez in Despicable Me 2, who is the son of a villain El Macho. But Gru didn't agree. Which one do you choose? Nico or Antonio? One of the scenes in the movie Up, when Ellie came to Carl's room who was sick because he fell from the top floor of an old house because he wanted to take his balloon. Young Ellie visits and enters Carl's room through the window, even though you notice that Carl's room is in the attic of the house. How can an 8-year-old climb up there? One of the scenes in Minions and More one, when Chloe, a cat in the movie The Secret Life of Pets pushes the letter I of the Illumination logo. Her fat body managed to spoil the logo only for a green feather. One of the scenes in the Minions and More one, when trio Kevin, Bob and Stuart roast marshmallows over the Illumination logo. Until death waiting marshmallows will never ripen. Have you ever seen an angel in the shape of a car? If you haven't, then you must watch the Cars on the Road series. One scene shows Mater who should have died and he meets an angel who will guide the rest of his journey. Be careful with the angel named Speed Demon, but for Mater, Demon it doesn't look scary. You should also watch this series, How Mater Escaped Death by Tricking Demon. One of the scenes in the series I'm Groot. In this scene you will see how Groot meets his twin. They danced together agilely, until Groot realized that his twin was a strange creature that could change shape. Groot pretended to continue dancing with his twin, dancing towards the door and banishing the creature away. There is only one Groot, no other Groot. Did you notice that in the movie DC League of Super Pets? When Crypto has prepared popcorn for Thursday night and TV night, Crypto brings a bowl of popcorn to his room. But there is no scene of Crypto snacking on popcorn. Crypto only eats so much ice cream. One of the most disgusting scenes in movie Back to the Outback, when Maddie and the others have to make their way through a herd of cows. The dung beetles are willing to help them if they want to mingle. The most disgusting thing when a cow's dung falls all over Pretty Boy's body. Don't look at this scene if you're eating food. Did you notice in the movie Up? When Ellie and Carl save their money in a bottle, their coins are almost half a bottle. But when their car tire explodes, Carl must take the money. If you notice in this scene, the coins in the bottle are actually decrease, not as much as the amount of coins in the previous scene. I think, maybe before the car tire exploded, they had taken the money for other needs. One of the scenes in the movie Minions and More one, when Stuart, Bob, and Kevin are trying to make something to cheer up the young Grinch who is sad. The young Grinch smiles again after Stuart gives him a red light switch and asks the Grinch to press it. Happy as simple. Look at the way the Mater in the Car on the Road series came back to life. How could a tow truck get into a tow truck? Did you know what Babe's wink means to Sam in the movie Luck? Even though Babe doesn't know Sam, and it's the first time she's seen Sam. I think it's because Babe loves being with tall women, and Sam belongs to the small group of creatures on good look who dare to look Babe in the eye. Or also because Babe already has a good feeling that Sam will reunite Babe and her true love. One of the scenes in the Back to the Outback movie that makes you wonder, is it true that a poisonous funnel web spider spits out a green liquid and can instantly turn human hair into a punk hairstyle? I think this is scene's just a joke. Did you know that in the movie Mia and Me, the hero of Santopia? The king and queen of fairies look a little different. Somehow their appearance does not look like the king and queen of fairies but rather like the king and queen of the ancient Roman Empire. Want to see the other side of Miss Crawley? When a calm woman like Miss Crawley suddenly becomes fierce while dating a snake. She hits Snakehead and leaves. Disappointing date. One of the most awkward scenes in the movie Pinocchio, when Jimmy holds a statue that turns out to be a statue of a woman, and Jimmy's hand is right on the woman's butt, even though it's just a statue, but Jimmy politely says, "Oh, excuse me ma'am." A good attitude. Did you know that there is only one scene in the epic movie that shows Ronan laughing and joking, and that's exactly what he did when mocking MK's father. Throughout the movie Ronan is always serious and authoritative. When Baymax messes with people who are eating ramen but are still kind enough to return the spilled ramen to the bowl. And if you notice, Baymax took his band-aid from the ramen bowl and stuck it to his chest. Whereas in the previous scene it was not seen that Baymax patched his body on the chest. The one that leaked was precisely on the part of his head due to cat scratches. Did you know why Buzz's cat and Zurg's cat in Lightyear movie are different? Buzz's cat named Socks is still in good condition, while Zurg's cat has damaged eyes. In my opinion, because Zurg is evil, he doesn't take good care of Socks because he is just busy with his ambition. Buzz even shocked when Zurg stepped on Socks until the cat robot was destroyed. One of the Goosebumps scene in the epic movie, when all the Boggins men fill the entire tree trunk, they camouflage and immediately attack. If in real life they are insects that become destructive pests. When Groot becomes a charming forest elf, unfortunately one of the forest dwellers, a bird, is disturbed by Groot's voice and decides to attack. Groot was sad but immediately retaliated by taking the bird's beautiful feathers for a scarf. Groot's attitude doesn't seem to be able to become a forest elf yet. Did you know that in movie Mia and Me, the hero of Santopia? Aiko is the only fairy seen at the beginning of the movie without wings. His wings only appear when he is about to fly. Maybe Aiko is the type of fairy who can hide his wings, while all the fairies there can't hide their wings. When Max, the Grinch's loyal dog, had to fight his way through a snowstorm to buy coffee, so that the Grinch who was still lying on his bed could enjoy his coffee again. Even though he was kicked out by the coffee shop owner, Max tried to get himself the Grinch's favorite type of coffee. Something to wonder about is that on the coffee can it says, tea. Maybe the tea is a coffee brand. Coffee tea, who knows? Confusing. The Grinch's behavior while in the supermarket should not be imitated by children who watch this movie. When the Grinch picks up food and tries it, and when it doesn't taste good, the Grinch spit it out and put it back in the package, and Grinch's attitude is actually playing tricks on mothers who need his help. Did you know that in the Boss Baby series Back in the Crib? Shows how poor Carol is, who looks like someone who is in a trance because she knows that the talking baby who is currently in front of her is Ted. This is also the first time Tina tells Carol that she is a talking baby too. Poor Carol passed out. It seemed like being part of the Templeton family wasn't easy. One of the scenes in the movie Up, when Russell and Carl sit on the sidewalk eating ice cream and counting cars passing by. Somehow they don't buy ice cream for Doug, who is also sitting with them there. One of the scenes in the movie Mia and Me, the hero of Santopia shows Toxor, an evil frog who wants to rule Santopia. The scene is a little awkward because a villain with a small stature and must be carried to get on the horse. I don't know what happened to Master Chow, but Stuart's been the target of her kung fu since the beginning. First, when Stuart asked that they be taught kung fu by Master Chow and Master refused. Next, Master Chow hit Stuart with a stick, and the worst thing is that Stuart is hit by a kung fu kick and bounces off. Maybe because Master Chow saw Stuart being undisciplined during kung fu practice. Did you notice that the teleportation method to go to the Baby Corp in the Boss Baby series, Back in the Crib, has progressed significantly compared to the teleportation method in the movie Boss Baby 2? Where at that time the way the Boss Baby went to the Baby Corp had to go through a long portal, but now only with one sucking on the pacifier, Boss Baby and Tina immediately arrived at the Baby Corp. Did you notice that in the movie Back to the Outback? When Chaz Hunt walks into the wrong tavern because there's no one interested in his mission of hunting down the dangerous animals, the waiter even suggested Chaz to go to the tavern next door. If you notice, a woman sitting in the corner doesn't look interested at all and doesn't seem to be part of the biker gang that's in the tavern next door, but the woman actually seemed to want to go hunting, although in the end she actually failed to ride a large motorcycle. One of the scenes that makes wonder in the movie The Bad Guys. When the bad guys rob a bank and take away a safe full of money. And do you know how weird the bad guys are? After successfully robbing, Snake instead opens the safe and lets the money in it fly. If the money is just to be thrown away, then why are they trying to rob? Did you notice that in the Boss Baby series, Back in the Crib? When Tina took Baby Iggy's shoes and threw them away, Baby Iggy burst into tears. But if you notice, the crying sound is not Baby Iggy's cry, because Baby Iggy's face is fine. It doesn't look that the baby is crying. One of the scenes in the movie Minions and More One, you can see how the minions are the most awkward creatures ever. While naked they roll around in the mud. Did you know that the very cute Agnes can become a superhero like Iron Man? One of the scenes in the movie Pinocchio, which shows Pinocchio dancing by moving his feet to cause sparks. Although strong because Pinocchio is made of pine wood, but he should be burned. But Pinocchio's feet are not burned at all. When Mater and Lightning stopped by the Dino Park, Mater said that he wasn't afraid of dinosaurs, but when the Iron Dino, which was a display in the park, moved, Mater immediately ran as fast as he could. While Lightning was so amazed by the Tyrannosaurus Rex, he actually got an attack from the animal. One of the scenes in the movie DC League of Super Pets, only Lulu the villain managed to make a superhero like Flash locked up like a pet hamster. Two babies are trying to clean the toilet even though they are both still in diapers and haven't used the toilet. Do you think these two babies can really keep the toilet clean?